Karen gets arrested because I wasn't being a good cashier. This story is long, but I promise to write it, bear with me, please. So I used to work as a cashier in a supermarket. This story took place on my 4th day of work there, and my 2nd day working at a cash on my own without a supervisor sitting next to me, teaching me the ropes. Yes, I had 2 days of training. I'm sure most of you will figure out in which country I live from the following explanation. It will become relevant later. Supermarkets in my country are a zoo on a regular day. However, Thursdays and Fridays are absolute mayhem at the store and are a special kind of hell. Fridays the store closes 2 hours before sundown, as do most stores in this country. During winter this means around 1400 hours, and in summer closer to 1630. People get crazy on Fridays trying to get all their shopping done and get home in time to cook dinner. If you can avoid coming to the store on Friday, please do so at all costs. I always told people after this day, the reason Thursdays are hell is because we get all the customers who don't want to come on Friday. Now this was early evening on a Thursday, at a time when the store is absolutely jam-packed. We had 10 checkout lines open and every line had at least 6 to 7 people in line. Basically, if you are stuck with a slow cashier, there is nowhere else to go, unless you have 10 items or less. Everything is going well until I get a customer with 2 shopping carts full of items, mostly non-perishable items. And these are the large carts you find around big stores in the US, like Walmart. I found out later he buys this for a community center in his neighborhood and he fills up their pantry twice a year. Nice guy. He greeted me very politely and then said the most dreaded words I could have heard that night. This will be a delivery. Just a quick break from the story to explain why this was so dreaded, especially on a day like today. When we get a delivery, the cashier would call a helper from the store to help bag the groceries. Usually people do their own bagging. The bags would then be placed in plastic containers and containers would then be placed on top of each other and taken to the back fridge until delivery. A regular delivery is usually between 3 to 5 crates. Each crate has a number, which then I have to input all of them into the computer, along with correct delivery address and phone number, and print out with the receipt and place copies in the crates. Even for a small delivery this always takes extra time. Back to the story. This guy has 2 full carts and wants a delivery. I say sure, no problem. Then I turn to everyone else in line and let them know that this is a delivery and it will take just a bit longer than usual and apologize for any delay this may cause. We always do this so customers will be aware of the delay and can move to another cash if they are in a hurry. This is when the whole line groans simultaneously. I don't blame them. There was nowhere else to go. I could see every one of them craning their necks to check out other lines and they all decided to stay. So I start scanning as fast as I can. I'm pretty good with numbers, so even though it's my 4th day I remember many of the codes and things are moving rather quickly. I get to a point where the bagger can't keep up with all the items and the area to the left of me, where I place all the scanned items, is just a mountain of cans and bags of chips and whatnot. I can't even scan another item cause they are falling back onto my scale. At this point I stop and ask if he wants help bagging. The customer and the bagger are both appreciative and I help bag groceries for a few minutes. Just enough to clear some space so I can continue scanning items. This happens every few minutes. It gets full. I stop to help clear some space and keep going. This is where the Karen comes into play. She is maybe early 40s, long brown hair, and looks nothing like a Karen, except for the way she was standing, with one hand on a hip that extended so far to the side I wasn't sure how she's still standing. She's in my line, about 5 to 6 people in front of her still. This is the conversation that follows. Karen, hello? What are you doing? Me, not answering cause I didn't think she was talking to me. I keep scanning. Karen, excuse me? What kind of a cashier are you? Why aren't you doing your job? Stop being lazy and do your job. She screams at the top of her lungs. Me, I'm sorry ma'am, I'm just trying to. Karen, that's not your job. You are a cashier. Do your job. Do your job. I realize now, after reading so many Reddit stories, that this would have been a perfect for chance for some malicious compliance. I'm sure some of you hope that I did just what Karen wanted. Too bad I didn't know about it then, or that it was only my 4th day on the job. That's not what happened, although I dream sometimes that I did just that. Sit back and sip my coffee until the space cleared for more scanned items. You know, be a cashier. Next time. Me, I'm just helping to move things along faster. If this is a problem, or you are in a hurry, feel free to move to another line. I'm sure another cashier will be more than happy to serve you. I may sound like I'm the a-hole with this line, but I said it really nicely, not sarcastic at all. Obviously, that didn't help. LOL. Karen, not listening anyway, and having none of it. Just do your damn job. You are a cashier. What is wrong with you? Are you stupid? You should be fired. I stop listening at this point and don't answer as I'm still helping to bag and scan as fast as possible, knowing it's not gonna help anyway. However, I see one of my managers, let's call him Joe, walk up to Karen. Joe is great, by the way, always helping the workers. Joe, what seems to be the problem? Karen, still yelling, your cashier is awful. She is lazy and she is not doing her job. You should fire her. Tell her to do her job. She's not doing her job. She repeated that a few times, like a broken record. Joe looks over at me for a second, understands exactly what is happening, turns to Karen and says, can't you see she's trying to help? She's trying to make this go much faster. Now Karen starts screaming words, I'm assuming, but I couldn't really make them out. She was practically foaming at the mouth. Joe tries to calm her down by explaining, or trying to, how me bagging items is actually helping, and this makes Karen even more irate, if you can believe it. Spit flying from her mouth, arms flailing, screaming like a banshee. Suddenly I notice an older woman, nice old lady, must have been around 80 years old, trying to get Karen's attention by tapping her on the shoulder. It takes a few tries, but she finally gets her attention and spins her around by her shoulder. NOL, hey Karen. Karen, excuse me. Karen, what? NOL, your daughter is crying. This is when the entire store seemed to have stopped talking all at once, like someone pressed mute and turned off the volume. The sea of people in front of me parts a bit, and we all look down and see a little girl, who couldn't have been older than 4, clutching her mother's thighs, bawling her eyes out, snot coming out of everywhere, hyperventilating. This girl was terrified, and I can't blame her. Seeing her mother mother going off like that must have been terrifying. And she has no idea what's happening. She's in a huge store where she knows no one, and she's practically invisible. This silence lasted an entire 2 seconds, because that's when Karen started yelling at Joe. Karen, look what you did. You and your stupid lazy cashier made my daughter cry. And a bunch of other crazy sounds that were perhaps supposed to be words. Things happened in slow motion for the next few seconds. She started to swing towards Joe. Joe is not a big guy, but he's bigger than Karen, that's for sure, and he's not easily intimidated, not his first Karen. She would have decked him right in the face if the NOL hadn't grabbed her in a bear hug to stop her. Yes, she did. I had to pick up my jaw off the floor. At that point, other customers got involved trying to peel off the NOL from Karen and stop Karen from trying to kill Joe, and from Joe trying to kill Karen cause he was fuming by then. At this point, I saw mall security storm the castle. Our store was inside a mall, and the sea of people just surrounded Karen, and I couldn't really see much of anything anymore. Kind of like football players when there is a fumble and they all jump on the ball. By the sound of yelling getting farther and farther away, I figured Karen was being led either to the back office or to the mall security office, mall jail. This entire time this is happening, I'm still bagging and scanning items, and I'm about halfway through this customer's purchase. I finish up with him with no more problems. He was very nice and thanked me profusely for helping with the bags, even though technically it wasn't part of my job. He said I was the fastest and nicest cashier he ever had the pleasure of meeting. I was just happy to help. No one else in my line complained. I actually got compliments from people about keeping my composure. Apparently many cashiers in my country think it's okay to yell at customers and just be plain nasty. I worked in customer service for many years prior, and I have never yelled at a customer, even if they deserved it. Once the rush died down a bit, I went for a break. I met another employee in the back room and I started to tell him of what just happened when he cut me off. She was yelling at you. Ha 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 ha. I heard that. Well, everyone heard that, but I had no idea WTF was happening. He told me that police was called and Karen escorted out of the store and the mall in handcuffs. I filled him in on everything and we spent the next 30 minutes laughing. I don't know what happened with the child. I'm assuming they called another family member to pick her up. I also don't know what happened with Karen after that, since I ended up working there for another year and I never saw her again. Hopefully, she learned to do her grocery shopping on Tuesday/Wednesday, or was possibly in prison or house arrest. This was the first Karen I had the displeasure of meeting while working at that store, but definitely not the last. To those of you who read the entire story, thank you for sticking with me through to the end. I hope it was worth it and you got some sense of pleasure or justice from the end result. I will work on my writing skill so the next stories I may write, that may be long as well, will be easy and entertaining to read. TLDR, I'm a cashier, and Karen gets mad at me for helping to bag groceries. In order for a huge purchase to be done faster, yells at me to be a cashier and do your job, acts crazy, almost punches my manager and gets stopped, practically tackled by an 80-year-old woman. Karen gets arrested. Edit. I just want to say thank you to everyone for your kind words and awards. I'm humbled by your feedback. I look forward to writing more stories very soon.